Nottingham Forest and Taiwo Awoniyi, that used to be a deadly combination. He was our main goal threat and in form one of the best strikers in the Premier League, breaking record after record for the club and the league as a whole. It's sad to see where he is now, which is him now being firmly second choice to Chris Wood, who's in the form of his life, and a number of bad injuries has seen him not be the same player when he has been given an opportunity, and normally that's not been all that long. But even the games he started, all 4 FA Cup games and only 3 in the Premier League this season, he just hasn't really been the same player. Only 2 goals in all competitions as well, and when we only had him available last weekend against Aston Villa, we couldn't even count on him to be fit for that. Does he still have a future at Nottingham Forest though? Can he turn it around still, or are his days numbered? Let me know in the comments on that one. But let's talk about Taiwo Awoniyi and the downfall. Having signed for Liverpool in 2015 for £400,000 from the Imperial Soccer Academy in Nigeria, he would fail to make a single appearance with the club in 6 years, instead being loaned out 7 times to 6 different clubs, all of which around Europe. Partly because he struggled to get a work permit in the UK, that's why he never got a loan to the Championship, say, or another Premier League side. This is why he was just going around Bundesliga and Belgium and Dutch clubs to mixed success. He was loaned to FSV Frankfurt, not to be confused with Eintracht Frankfurt, NEC, a Dutch team, 2 loans at French club Mouscron, Ghent, Mainz, and of course Union Berlin, who would end up signing for permanently in 2021. It would be at Union Berlin where he'd scored 20 goals in 43 games, also competing in the UEFA Conference League that season. And given the fact that injuries are quite a big theme of this video and his time at Forest, before he joined Forest, he only ever had 2 noticeable injuries in his entire career. He missed the final 3 games of his time at Mainz, having suffered a severe concussion at the end of the 1920 season, and he missed 11 games during the second half of his loan at Union Berlin. Other than this, he was pretty much injury-free, all but. But he finally had his chance to prove himself in England when he joined Forest for a record transfer fee at the time of 17 million. In that first season, we saw him score some crucial goals in keeping us in the Premier League. The first goal we scored upon our return to the top flight against West Ham at home. What a moment that was. The winner against Liverpool at home, having been on a very poor run of form, we desperately needed a win at that stage of the season, and Taiwo turned up against a team that never could or even did give him a chance. He scored the only goal in our only away win of that entire season away at Southampton. He also would score a brace against Southampton in the second game, a brace against Chelsea as well at Stamford Bridge, and with that he became the first player to score a brace in the league for Forest since Brian Roy in 1995. And it was also during this same period of the season and going into the start of the next season that he broke another record, being only the 3rd African player ever to score 7 straight Premier League games behind Mo Salah and Emmanuel Adebayor. Oh yeah, he also scored this small, insignificant goal too. However, this season wasn't injury-free. He did sustain a 2-month injury after that Southampton away game, and this was just unfortunate. We desperately needed a striker. Chris Wood also had an injury this season and wasn't what he is now. It was a bit of a concern to lose him, but he came back even better, arguably. And in this season, despite having 3 separate periods where he would be injured, he still was performing basically as good as he ever did. When he came back from injuries, he would still be scoring goals. He missed 2 games against Crystal Palace and Luton Town, and Chris Wood stepped up and scored 2 in that Luton game. We didn't talk about how the rest of the game went though. Taiwo quickly came back and scored in a game away at West Ham, but then he would be injured for what we initially thought was going to be 3 to 4 months. He would end up being back within 2 months, and having had that long injury the year before, this was quite a concern at this stage, and especially for our season at the time. During this period though, Nuno Espirito Santo would of course join the club, and Chris Wood would become prime Ronaldo. So this would make it even more difficult and interesting for Taiwo now, not just to contend with these injuries, but he isn't the automatic starting striker anymore because of how good Chris Wood was and still is. But even after this first setback, he'd still come back and score against Arsenal and West Ham. But then he'd be injured again, and this time this was quite detrimental, in fact completely detrimental to his Forest career. He'd be injured again, and then he'll come back at the end of that season with 3 little cameo appearances where you couldn't really judge him. But at this stage, a third big injury, we were at least starting to think we need to get someone else here to support Chris Wood and Awoniyi, because we can't really trust Taiwo, and we didn't quite realise how good Chris Wood would continue to be. That's one of the very few things that Forest have probably got wrong this season, is not getting support for Chris Wood, because this would still continue to be a problem to the present day. And a lot of Forest players this season have said that it was pre-season where things really started to turn. A good pre-season made all the difference quite clearly. But Taiwo didn't even get a pre-season. He missed 4 of the 6 friendlies due to a personal matter, and he would only play 31 minutes over the final 2 friendlies. So he didn't even get a run in pre-season where there's no pressure and he could just get some minutes. So I think that honestly was a massive, massive blow for him, to have 2 big injuries, then not even get any games at the end of the season essentially, besides cameos, then missing pre-season. He was then coming in to a new season totally out of form, totally unfit, totally not sharp behind Chris Wood. The only noticeable thing that he did in the first half of the season was miss a penalty against Newcastle in the League Cup penalty shootout. He's only started 3 games this season, and 2 of them were in this first period against Arsenal and Fulham, and he was relatively ineffective in both games. And when I say he makes a lot of cameos, he makes a lot of cameos, because 13 of these cameo appearances have been less than 10 minutes. But I do also think he has still had quite a few opportunities now where he's started games or had a bit longer than that to do something, and we just haven't really seen it. I'm not saying he's been really bad, but he's not the Taiwo that we used to know. He would get his first goal of the season away at Wolves this year, in only a little cameo in that game as well. He did score, and that's what we were all saying he needed, and we hoped that this would be a moment for him to, really kick on. It wasn't, because he's only scored 1 other goal since. That was away at Exeter in the FA Cup, where he played pretty well in that game, but he also suffered another injury in that match. Only a 1 game missing injury. Of course, he broke his nose. But like I say, he started all 4 FA Cup games this season with little effect besides that Exeter match. And he was pretty impressive actually against Brighton, I thought. So not bad, 50-50 is how he's performed really in those cup games. But the reason why I've decided to make this video right now is because Chris Wood isn't even fit right now. We were all saying Taiwo's got to step up, he's got to become the main man. Just for these few games, this is his biggest opportunity yet to just, really get some form going. He plays 86 minutes against Man United with not the greatest impact in my opinion, and then against Aston Villa, Wood's probably only going to be missing for a handful of games. Surely Taiwo could be fit for those matches at least. He wasn't fit for Aston Villa. So when he does get his chance to be the only striker in the team with no one to really rival him, he's not fit. It's a recurring problem. When he has been given a chance, it's either not been enough time or not taken it when it has been enough time, always not been available, and then of course he's behind Chris Wood. And this is why people, after this last weekend against Villa, are saying it really is time up for Taiwo. And I hate to say it, but I think it probably is. If we get into the Champions League or any kind of European football, you know Forest are going to go big on getting a striker to surely at least support Chris Wood. I don't know how it's going to affect that, but surely Taiwo will be a victim of that. And I think even if we weren't in a European position, you probably would definitely see a Son striker, and Taiwo might be on his way out regardless. So are these the last couple of months of Taiwo Awoniyi at Forest? I have a feeling it may be. Do you think he can turn it around though? Do you think there's still a future for him at the club? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. This has been a bit of a video essay about Taiwo Awoniyi. I haven't done this sort of video for a while, where I just talk and document a player. I did do it for Nico Williams recently, if you want to go and check that out. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully Taiwo can prove us all wrong still. If you have enjoyed it, then please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new. Everton this weekend, of course, there'll be a vlog for that, so stay tuned to the channel, and I'll see you soon. Come on you Reds.